This podcast is brought to you by Gamer Nation Productions. Gamer Nation, a new gaming podcasting network by gamers for gamers. Roll with us.
Welcome to the Confessions of an Addict podcast, an introspective look at video gaming from the classic era to the modern day. Now here is your host, Brian.
Hey folks, what's going on out there? Brian here, and this is episode number 79 of the Confessions of an Addict podcast. Okay, so let's see, when we last left off with episode 78, my birthday came and went. I am now 56 years old. Still trying to recover from this malaise and fog that I've been in. Everybody thinks that I have long COVID. It's entirely possible, although, I could have just had it and not shown symptoms until, it felt like my brain was stuck in oatmeal or something like that. And, just trying to get out of it. And things are just proceeding. Today is my girlfriend's birthday, and let's see, after I get all the bills paid, I'm going to go on Amazon and buy her a bunch of things. And then, let's see, I've got some of Christmas dinner bought when I went to buy groceries today, and we should be pretty much okay, because, Christmas is only 11 days away at this point. And, my ex, who is in the hospital still, this is like her second month bouncing between hospitals and rehab facilities, she bought me a Voltron DVD for my birthday. She knows me so well. But then again, it's not that hard. I have an Amazon wish list. If anybody's like, what do you want for your birthday? I'm like, well, I will, I just point them to the Amazon thing. And, there's stuff there that I want. There's things for streaming, like a camera. I think maybe perhaps in either January or February, I might actually have the funds to buy a decent streaming camera. Then I have to look at getting a streaming deck. And, just doing this stuff piecemeal, one thing at a time. You know how it is. Let's see. Gaming-wise, been playing Division 2. What else I've been playing? I got back into New World, a little bit, and for the first time in I think 2 years, I think Project Wingman, which is basically I hate to say it like this, but it plays almost exactly like it. It's like Ace Combat for the PC, and I guess that's a compliment because it is fun to play. So yeah, they had some new DLC, so I went and got that. And I actually felt I had to play the game from the beginning rather than my leaving off point, because I've got to get my flying chops back. So, I played that, and, I'm just going to ease myself into it. Let's see, what else have I been doing gaming-wise? I started playing WGT Golf, because I just have a Jones to play golf, and I have no money to go and buy a PGA Tour 2020, 2020 22 or 23, I think. 23. You know, guys like Cockster and oh goodness, what is his name? Rundown Man 6. They stream on Twitch, and they play that. They have a really good like network of people, and they're always playing like tournaments and alternate shot stuff and things like that. Like stuff you would just normally play on a golf course. But I don't have the money to buy that game right now, so I'm just gonna do that. I'm just playing like bargain basement golf right now, and it's a challenge, let me tell you. Let's see. I had plans on the 29th to go up to last level up in Fenton, and that has to be put off again because I'm scheduled to work that Sunday at the main gig at the hospital. I am not happy about it because this will make 3 weeks out of 5. I worked on the 1st. I'm working this Sunday, the 15th coming up, and then again on the 29th. But as it was explained to me, 2 people who were part of our driver crew, they quit, and they were also 2 people who worked on weekends. So, everybody's got to work like every other week. But we have new people coming in, so I just have to deal with it until January or so. So yeah, I'm not happy about it, but there it is. So I still have the plans in place to go up there. It's just going to have to be pushed until I think maybe about the 2nd week or 3rd week of January at this point. I mean, I'm not happy about it. And of course, I'm going to have to keep an eye on the weather. Because, Fenton is not that far away. I mean, it's just a little bit south of Flint, but, I still have to keep an eye on the weather because ever since I went up to Crazy Quarters a couple of years ago, and I'm just glad I picked a Subaru Crosstrek to make the journey up there. Because, yeah, the roads were icy and slick, and they were that way all the way up and all the way back. So, yeah, I mean, I could have, been in an accident or something like that if I hadn't picked the right vehicle to make the trip. So, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's a matter of when. Who is that? I can't remember his name now, but he's like a semi-regular at the arcade. He's playing pinball all the time. I mean, he came down to play the new Metallica remastered Stern pinball machine, which we have. And we get to talking about stuff because he is big into pinball and video games, like I am. And so, we talk about stuff, and he invited me over to, I think it's a place where I think some of his machines he's rented to a place in Saginaw. So, like I think I said on my last post on social media about it, I think what it is that I'm going to do like a pretty big time arcade run. I'm going to go up to Bad Axe, go up to the Bad Axe Retrocade up there, and then I'm going to cut across the thumb and go and finally check out Crazy Quarters in their new location. I've been meaning to do that for months, but things happen, life just be lifing sometimes. And then I'm probably going to swing down into Saginaw and check out this place, and then we'll just then I'll just go home from there. It's just going to be a pretty good full-time arcade run. It's the first one I've done probably since I went to Chicago, like a couple of years back. So anyway, that's pretty much what's going on with me. I've checked emails and voicemails, and nothing's out there. So once again, you have any thoughts, questions, comments? Is there a game that you want me to cover? or you want to talk about a game that I have covered, or just to say hi, like the show, love the show, don't like the show, here's why. Like I said, as long as you're nice about it, let it fly. The email address is arcadeaddictbrian@gmail.com. Also, there is a phone number for voicemails. That number is area code 734-623-0832. And when you do call, make sure to specify that you are calling for Confessions of an Arcade Addict. And then just, have at it with what you got to say. Also, I am, of course, on social media. Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Tumblr. All of these addresses are on Linktree, and the address to that is link.tr. No, it's linktr. I always get that wrong. linktr.ee/arcadeaddictbrian. And that way you have all of the ways to get a hold of me. And like I said, you got something to say, as long as you say it, politely and not be an ass about it. Like I'm getting into arguments when I should know better on social media about things. I know better and I still got hooked in, geez. As long as you're nice about it, hey, say what you got to say and we'll go from there. All right, so with all of that out of the way, let's get on to the show. I've got 3 topics, including a topic I haven't done for a while. So let's get right on to it. Story time.
Our bodies are given life from the midst of nothingness. Existing where there is nothing is the meaning of the phrase, form is emptiness. That all things are provided for by nothingness is the meaning of the phrase, emptiness is form. One should not think that these are 2 separate things.
Okay, story time. The perfect arcade. Okay, I wrote this a little while ago, so bear with me. I realized from looking at my notes of all the arcade reviews I've done that no arcade that I've been to scores above an 8.5 total score, with the highest being Milford Rec coming in at 8.3. Now, understand this is not me being overly influenced by nostalgia or me being hypercritical of arcades I've been to in my adult years. I realized that no matter what level of success or notoriety this podcast ever attains, I could not be anything but fair when it comes to these places. I have to laud the place for the things they get right and dock them for the things they get wrong. I would have trouble looking at myself in the mirror if I swung too far in one direction or the other, being overly positive or negative about an aspect of a place if it didn't truly deserve the praise or criticism. I love arcades. I think you guys know that by now. It was because I had so many memories of the games I played in the arcades, game rooms, and stores having arcade games that drove me to start this podcast in 2018. Wow, it's going to be 7 years next year. I envied Nap Arcade on Instagram. That's KNAPP Arcade, one word. Because this guy goes hither and yon to different arcades and barcades around the country and posts pictures of them. I wish I could make my fortune so I could do the same thing and take my son with me as well, because I know he would love it. He's always after me to take him on these runs. So after looking through my ratings of these places, I asked myself the question one day: what would be the perfect arcade? What would be the place that would completely knock my socks off to where I sit at my desk, fire up my computer, and spend the next hour or so just raving about the place? Kind of like what I did with Retro Electric and Underground Retrocade and a couple of other places. Well, let's break it down, and we're going to use the arcade review method to do so. First of all, the location should be easy to get to, most preferably located in a spot that is accessible by car, bus, train, or even within walking distance. That means it should be located on a main thoroughfare in a fairly populous town or city, preferably close to a U.S. highway or interstate, maybe even a largely traveled state road. The place should have a crap ton of parking, and the building should be easy to find from the roadway, well lit with plenty of signage. The selection should be out of this world. A bare minimum of 75 machines with a broad and deep cross-section. I have since devised the rating system for this criteria. and I probably need to go in and redo all of my arcade reviews to reflect this system that I came up with. So let's see. 5 is average. That's 25 to 30 machines. 5.5 is 30 to 35. A 6 is 35 to 40. 6.5 is 40 to 45. 7 is 45 to 50. 7.5 is 50 to 60. An 8 would be 60 to 75. An 8.5 is 75 to 100. A 9 on the scale is 100 to 150. A 9.5 is 150 to 200. And a 10 is 200 and more. Of course, there have only been 4 places since I started this podcast that I've been to that rate a 10 rating. And that, of course, is Galloping Ghost Arcade, Underground Retrocade, Fun Spot, and hopefully sometime either this spring or summer, Pastimes Arcade in basically suburban Youngstown, Ohio. The city's name is Girard, actually, but it's pretty much a suburb of Youngstown. But yeah, those are the only places I've been where I've seen a place that has 200 machines or higher. Yeah, the arcade in Brighton rates a 9 on this because, actually, I take that back, it rates a 9.5 because it's over 150. So yeah, I've got to go back and redo some of these reviews just for my own edification, if you will. Okay. All genres and time periods should be well represented and not just the usual suspects like Pac-Man or Galaga. Those machines are numerous enough that you can find one from a reputable person without massive difficulty, even in this overinflated market. Also mean the more rare games and some imports from Japan as well. Galloping Ghost got this right in spades, with Underground Retrocade and Fun Spot on its heels. Also, and this is important, and this is something that I've been trying to talk to the owner of the arcade about, but you rotate the games in and out just to keep customers coming back, if only to see what's new or if something they asked about has been put on the floor. And yeah, that's something that I've before the current state of events came about. That's something I was talking to the owner about, because I would say, Mike, we've had the same old school stuff since before I got hired here, with only maybe about, I'd say, 10 games in the last 3.5 years. About 10 games in the last 3.5 years changed in and out, just in the old school section. And there are games in our arcade that sit there in a track mode and are played no more than 5 times in a regular day, or even 5 times in a 12-hour shift. A 12-hour shift on Saturdays, which is the longest period which we're open. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to work on that, but we'll see. I mean, hopefully I can, sort of break him down a little bit to where, I even said, just pay me for the time. I'll just, take out a couple of machines, bring in a couple of machines from the warehouse, swap them out, and, just enough to, just for people who are interested in playing the old school games, just be like, oh, they got this? Because, I mean, I've told customers a million times, it's like, yeah, we've got 150 plus machines on the floor, but, we're waiting for, the right time and the right place to get for, to expand, because, we've got another, 300 in storage. So, I mean, just thinking about that, it's like, that's like, 450 machines? Somewhere between 450 and 500? I mean, that would make us the biggest arcade in the state of Michigan, hands down. I mean, aside from the one guy who has the Pinball Expo in Brighton, Michigan, even though he calls it Ann Arbor, it's basically like a little township just south of Brighton. And, I mean, he's got, what was it last count? What, 600? I think? Something like that. I can't remember the exact count. I should look it up, but, it's late and I'm lazy. So yeah, I'm sort of kind of working on that. I'm hoping I can get that done. But anyway, to continue. The ambiance should be out of this world. If you are of a certain age like me, every time you walk in the door, you should be flashing back to your childhood. Not just by the games, but there should be period photographs, period correct music playing, and all kinds of video game and period correct art everywhere you look. I mean, Milford Rec got this right, as did Marvin's and Retro Electric, rest in peace, in their different ways. The staff should be helpful and attentive when issues arise, with the ability to handle the situation, from teaching the customer how to put credits up on a free play machine to dealing with disorderly people with a sense of entitlement. And I posted that on social media, like, what was it? Wow, about a month ago when that happened. No need to go into it here. As far as functionality goes, it goes without saying. All of the games should be working and working well, and if something is down or broken, there should be clear signage stating that the game will be fixed as soon as possible. I mean, I see it almost every shift that I'm at the arcade. Someone will inevitably will come up and tell me that a machine is not working correctly, and I will check it out, and if I can't tend to the issue, I write it down in the repair logbook for our tech Travis to check out when he comes in next, and put a sign on the machine and turn it off, and put the sign on it stating that the machine is down. The games are an arcade's lifeblood, and I don't say that to be dramatic. Without properly functioning machines, people will come to your place once, maybe twice, and then they will find somewhere else to spend their money. I mean, not to put too fine of a point on it, but that's where Pinball Pizza is now. And I only found out why a couple of weeks ago. Sidebar. I found out that the guy who owns the Pinball Museum in Las Vegas, and I've been told by reputable people whose opinions I trust implicitly when it comes to arcades, whether they be video game, pinball, or a combination of both, basically said that place is all the machines are in like a majority of the machines are in terrible disrepair. And the owner doesn't care because, quite honestly, he's already got your money. Once you walk in the door, you pay, and then, you go and play, and then you just are disappointed, And I found out that guy apparently bought Pinball Pete's, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. I think the original owner, Pete, I think he decided to retire because, he'd been running those arcades since the early 80s. I think Pinball Pete's in Lansing and Ann Arbor had been in existence since, 1981, if I'm not mistaken? So, 40 years plus is a good run. But unfortunately, he sold his arcades to the wrong person, because I noticed this just increasing issue of machines being down, not working correctly, and it's just gotten worse. And not only that, they're charging more money to play the classic games. And I hate to go off on a rant about it, but now I've opened that can of worms, so I might as well see it through. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to pay $1 to play the Galaga Ms. Pac-Man anniversary machines. I'm not going to do that. When the last time I went into Pinball Pete's, just to see what was going on and maybe play a couple of games, and of course, the games I played all didn't work properly, and then I saw that, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And, it is what it is, unfortunately. But, and not only that, I've had people come into our place who compliment us on our machines working for, pretty much the most part. at least 80%, 85% of our machines, and that's not a bad day. They work and work as they should, work properly. And just to see that, because I remember when I first started going to Pinball Pete's, it was a great experience. It was absolutely wonderful. All the games worked, you know, everything looked good, everything played well. There was plenty of places to sit down and chill. The vending machines were there, so you could get a drink. You could leave the arcade, go across the street to the store, get something to eat. Go across the street on the eastern side, go over to the 7-Eleven, get something there, bring it back, and just chill and snack and chill. But yeah, I mean, it's just fallen into disrepair now. It's like, I don't even bother to go there because it's a waste of my time, to be honest. And there have been times where my son's asked me to take him, and I'm just like, no, we're going to go to another place. And then he says, why? And I have to explain, because the machines don't work, But anyway, rant over. Let's just get right back onto it. Oh, man. The functionality rate for an arcade should be 90% at the very least. I understand that the more machines that you have, the lower the rate's going to be, because, all of the classics are at least 40 years old now. If, some of them going on 50, and I get it. They're hard to maintain, and there aren't that many electronics technicians as there were even in the 90s going into the 2000s, which is unfortunate. But that's why you need good techs to fix them. I mean, we are lucky to have Travis. Travis is an excellent technician. He keeps the old schools going. He keeps the Sterns going. He does his best on the other brand pinball machines, like Jersey Jack or Chicago Gaming or oh goodness, there were a couple other brands we've got in there that the names escape me right now, but you know what I mean. But as far as I'm concerned, I think it's a bad day when 4 or 5 machines go down, and that's a functionality rate of 96 or 97%. But that's just how I feel about it. As far as value goes, you always try to give the customer the most for their money. Free play is the way to go, even if you have to physically alter your machines a little to do it. If you're going to use quarters or tokens, charge one token or 25 cents for the classics, 50 cents or 2 tokens for the appropriate machines. This has always been a problem, and like I said when I first reviewed Pinball Pete's, nothing is more disappointing for an OG video game player like me than being forced to pay 50 cents to play Frogger. I shouldn't have to do that. I'm sorry. I understand it on the one hand, but yeah. Anyway. And if you go for the free play route, places like Retro Electric did and Free Play Pinball do, they give out a last call deal and like 4 for 3 specials, which is a good bargain for a family or a group of friends. They feel that they're getting more for their money, even if it's a minor gain. That's what keeps your customers coming back week after week and bringing their friends with them. In my opinion, the Perfect Arcade has the easy access of like a Spanky's, which was like right off of a state highway route. Literally, it was right off Lindley Street at the corner of Lindley Street and North Avenue, which was US Route 1. So that was a major thoroughfare going right by the place, and then going north and south was a highway. So I mean, it was like you got off at Lindley Street, made a right-hand turn, drove about 100 feet, made a left-hand turn, another left-hand turn, and you were there. So, I mean, that was like very easy access. Milford Rec, which was like right off of US 1 in Milford, off to the east, same thing. The selection, Underground Retrocade, at the very least, if not Fun Spot, Pastimes or Galloping Ghost, the ambience of Retro Electric, rest in peace, and the functionality of My Place, the arcade in Brighton. And I say that knowing we have our issues from time to time, but in all honesty, what arcade in this day and age doesn't? And the value of a free play pinball arcade. You add that all together, that would be awesome. I mean, I can almost see it. A medium-sized two-story standalone building in a major shopping center on a major street close to the interstate with plenty of restaurants nearby, maybe even a movie theater. About 20,000 square feet or so, ample parking, charging $15 to $20 for all-day free play with a $10 last call starting 90 minutes before closing. A cafe serving food, snacks and drinks with a nice open area for eating, resting, and for conducting parties. Has around 200 to 250 machines, attended by at least 4 or 5 employees, with 2 full-time on-site techs to get the broken machines fixed ASAP, monthly pinball leagues and game tournaments for real prizes. Streamers and podcasters are welcome, and maybe we even sponsor a select few. I mean, hey, it's a pie-in-the-sky dream, but to me that would be the absolute perfect arcade and one that I would love to work at, manage, or even own. If I hit the lottery, look out, because that's what I'm going for. Okay, and that's story time. That was just something it was a thought exercise that turned into something more, and I just decided to share it with you guys. Okay, so with that done, let's move on to our next segment, which is, Are You Experienced?
I'm too old for this. Hiding in front seats like a teenager.
Opie, I think I'm getting too old for this stuff.
I'm getting too old for this.
Listen, you was born too old for this.
I'm getting too old for this. I'm getting too old for this. Lying red-arsed in the heather chasing other men's cattle.
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
Maybe you're getting too old for this. What do you think, huh?
I'm not too old for this shit. I'm not too old for this shit. You will not. We're not too old for this shit. We're not too old for this shit. We're not too old for this. Say it like you believe. We're not too old for this shit.
Yeah. We're not too old for this shit.
I'm not going to buy a hemorrhoid cushion.
We're not too old for this shit.
Okay, Are You Experienced? Tapper. Okay, I mean, I've got my thoughts about this game, and I will share them with you, but let's get some information out of the way first. Once again, this is from Wikipedia. Tapper, which is also known as Root Beer Tapper, is an arcade video game developed by Marvin Glass and Associates and released in 1984 by Valley Midway. Now, I'm going to stop there because I realize that my memory might be faulty because I'm going back, literally 40 years? I could have sworn this machine was released in 1983, like late 1983. It's entirely possible because of reasons that the arcades that I used to go to might have gotten them a little early, but let's just leave that where it is, shall we? Tapper puts the player in the shoes of a bartender who must serve eager and thirsty patrons before their patience expires while collecting empty mugs and tips. It was distributed in Japan by Sega in 1984. Originally sponsored by Anheuser-Busch, the arcade version features a Budweiser motif. It was intended to be sold to bars with cabinets sporting a brass rail footrest and drink holders. Early machines had game controllers that were actual Budweiser beer tap handles, which were later replaced by smaller plastic versions with the Budweiser logo on them. The rethemed Root Beer Tapper followed in 1984, which was developed specifically for arcades because the original version was construed as advertising alcohol to minors. I haven't thought about that, but we'll get to that. Okay, gameplay. The controls consist of a 4-position joystick and a tap handle. The game screen features 4 bars, each with a keg at one end and a door at the other. Customers enter through the doors and slowly advance toward the kegs, demanding service. The player controls a bartender who must pour drinks and slide them down the bar for the customers to catch. Pushing the joystick up or down instantly moves the bartender to the keg at the next bar in the chosen direction, with the top and bottom of the screen wrapping around one another. while pushing to the left or to the right causes him to run along the bar where he is stationed. When the tap handle is pulled down, the bartender instantly moves to the keg if he is not already standing there and fills a mug. Releasing it causes him to slide the mug along the bar. Customers slide back toward the doors upon catching a full mug and disappear through the doors if they are close enough. If not, they stop after a certain distance, consume the drink, and resume their advance while sliding the empty mug back towards the keg. Customers occasionally leave tips on the bar, which the player can pick up for bonus points. Collecting a tip causes a group of female dancers to appear for a few seconds, distracting a portion of the customers so that they will stop advancing. However, distracted customers cannot catch drinks, and any customers who are either drinking or being pushed back at the start of the dancer's show will never be distracted. 1 life is lost when any of the following occurs. The player fails to catch an empty mug before it falls off the keg end of the bar and breaks. A full mug slides to the door end of the bar without being caught, where it falls and breaks. Any customer who reaches the keg end of the bar, whereupon they grab the bartender and slide him across the bar out the door, which is really funny, actually. Each screen is completed when the bar is completely emptied of customers. The bartender then pours and consumes a drink of his own, with humorous results involving the empty mug, such as getting it stuck on his head or stubbing his toe when he tries to kick it. As the game progresses, the customers appear more frequently, move faster along the bar, and are pushed back shorter distances when they catch their drinks. In addition, the maximum number of customers per bar gradually increases until every bar can have up to 4 customers at a time. The player proceeds through 4 levels, each with its own theme and appropriately dressed customers, and must complete a set number of screens to advance from one level to the next. The levels are a Western saloon with cowboys, that's 2 screens. A sports bar with athletes, that's 3 screens. A punk rock bar with punk rockers, that's 4 screens. And an outer space bar with aliens, also 4 screens. A bonus round is played at the end of each level, in which 6 cans of beer or root beer are placed on the bar. A masked figure shakes 5 of the cans, then pounds on the bar to shuffle them. Choosing the one unshaken can award bonus points, while choosing any other results in the bartender being sprayed in the face. In the latter case, the unshaken can flashes briefly to indicate its position. After completing all 4 levels, the player returns to the start of the sequence and continues the game at a higher difficulty level. Wow. Okay, the music. Music and sound effects for the arcade version of Tapper were created by Rick Hicaro and Marvin Glass and Associates. He used a Synclavier 2 synthesizer running with custom software written by Richard Ditton. The system interfaced directly to the arcade game system, so sounds were true to the capabilities of the hardware. The game's score includes O Susanna, composed by Stephen Foster, Buffalo Gals, a traditional American folk song, the Budweiser theme, and the Can-Can by Jacques Offenbach. The rest of the music was written by Rick Hicaro. Okay, moving on to the ports. Tapper was ported to the Apple II, Atari 8-bit computers, Atari 5200, Atari 2600, BBC Micro, ColecoVision, Commodore 64, MSX, ZX Spectrum, IBM PC, and Amstrad CPC. Most of the home versions of Tapper featured the Mountain Dew logo, while the ZX Spectrum and Amstrad CPC had the Pepsi logo. But they retained the bartender character of the original arcade game instead of the soda jerk in Root Beer Tapper. The ColecoVision version was released also in 1984. See, that's why I think that this game was actually put out in 1983, but I will stop. The Root Beer Tapper version also appears on the Midway Legacy edition of the Arcade 1-Up cabinet. A version for the Commodore Amiga has been released in 2023. Huh, how about that? Okay. The reception. In Japan, Game Machine listed Tapper on their March 15, 1984 issue as being the most successful table arcade unit of the month, tied with 10-Yard Fight and Versus Tennis. Compute's Gazette called the Commodore 64 version of Tapper, quote, one of the most addicting games we've seen lately, not only fun to play but also immensely challenging, graphically entertaining, and full of action, end quote. The magazine stated that, quote, it's a very well-designed strategy game, end quote, and concluded that it was, quote, near the top in entertainment value, end quote. Sinclair User gave the game a SU Classic Award. Okay, the legacy. The art style is almost identical to a previous game called Domino Man and the following game, Timber. In fact, the main character in Timber is a rework of the main character in Tapper. The art is based on Mike Ferris, an artist who's taught Scott Morrison art. Interesting. Re-releases. Root Beer Tapper has been included in several compilations. It was in the Nintendo 64 version of Midway's Greatest Arcade Hits, Arcade Greatest Hits, the Midway Collection 2 for the PlayStation, which I have, Midway Arcade Treasures for the PlayStation 2, which I also have. That's also for the Xbox, GameCube, and Microsoft Windows, and Midway Arcade Origins for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. A reinterpretation of the game for mobile devices, Tapper World Tour, was released in 2011. Cool. Alright, the clones. Novasoft published a clone in 1984 called Brewmaster for the TRS-80 color computer. A slightly altered version of Tapper appears as the Milk Bar minigame in Barnyard, released in 2006. A similar version is on the virtual pet website Neopets as one of the mini-games for the Altador Cup event. A clone called Nuka Tapper is included in the Fallout 76 as a mini-game with Fallout-themed graphics. Now that's cool. That's actually pretty cool. Let's see. Popular culture. Tapper is one of the games included in Disney's 2012 film Wreck-It Ralph and its 2018 sequel Ralph Breaks the Internet, with the bartender voiced by Maurice LaMarche. It's either Lamarca or Lamarche. I don't know which. Sorry, Maurice. The version of the game featured in both the films is a combination of the Budweiser and root beer versions. Let's see. High score. Greg Irway set the tournament world record on June 5th, 2005 with a score of 3,162,125 points, first 5 men of the game. William Rosa set the marathon world record on February 16, 2019 with a score of 14,826,200 points. Whew, that's a lot. Jeez. All right, with that all done, let's move on to my experiences with it. People were all about this game when it hit the arcades. I think younger players liked the fact that you were serving people beer, while the older players loved the little touches like running down the bar to collect your tips and the silly-looking stages. This game was quite difficult, though, because a major point of the game was getting your beer tap draw game tight. When you got that down, you could serve people faster and get them off the screen. I remember the massive eye-rolling going on when Bally was made to change the game to Root Beer Tapper. It showed how clueless people in positions of political influence and power were when it came to video games in the 1980s, amongst other things. I'm only speaking for myself, of course, but I can assure you, as a 14 and 15-year-old in 1983 and 84, playing a game of Tapper was not, I repeat, not going to make me go to the corner store in my neighborhood and shotgun cans of Budweiser. It was a game, a rather silly and fun game, and that's all it was. There was no spike in underage drinking because of this game, not at all. It was the powers that be acting like they were looking out for you when in fact they were fear-mongering. And now I need to stop myself before I go on a rant. And yes, I wrote that sentence. Yeah, because I've already been on one rant in this podcast. We don't need to do two. All right, so that's Root Beer Tapper. If you have experiences with it, you've played it, you own it, you remember it from your childhood, hey, hit me up. arcadeaddictbrian@gmail.com. And finally, we are going to go to the silver ball. Silver Ball, Black Knight, and Black Knight 2000. These machines were both designed by Steve Ritchie. Black Knight was designed in 1980, and Black Knight 2000 was designed in 1989. So, okay, there's a little bit of information. So I'm just going to run through it real quick. Once again, thanks to Wikipedia for it. Black Knight is a 1980 pinball machine designed by Steve Ritchie, who also provides the Knight's voice, and released by Williams Electronics. Ritchie designed 2 sequels, Black Knight 2000, which was released by Williams in 1989, and Black Knight Sword of Rage, released by Stern Pinball in 2019. That's pretty crazy that 30 years went by between the second and third sequels. Okay, description. The game is known for its 2-level playfield, which was a first for a pinball game, and introduced the patented MagnaSave, in which a player-controlled magnet was used to prevent outlaying drains. This was a first for a series of 4 games that were both 2-level and featured MagnaSave. The later games, which were Jungle Lord, Pharaoh, Solar Fire, and Grand Lizard, I think out of those 4, I think I've played Solar Fire, featured a variable type MagnaSave in that the magnet is energized as long as the player likes, up to the time they have earned. And on Black Knight, the machine controls the magnet time, adjustable by the operator from 3 to 10 seconds. MagnaSave was activated by pressing one of 2 buttons placed on either side of the cabinet, just above the flipper buttons. The sequel to Black Knight abandoned the variable MagnaSave, which had become standard at that point, and reverted to a fixed time. Balls drained down the outlane in spite of using MagnaSave caused the machine to laugh at the player, reinforcing the theme of the game as an evil knight versus the player. Yeah, that's for sure. Black Knight was not the first game to have electromagnets installed. An earlier example is Williams Electronics' Gorgar, which was the first talking pinball game, which features an area of the playfield that, when hit, holds the ball on an electromagnet for a second or 2 while a speech call plays. Other notable features of Black Knight are a loud riding bell instead of the old familiar knock when a special was won, which gave you a free game. A 3-ball multi-ball that did not require any previous targets to be hit before allowing balls to lock, and random score targets. Let's see. Steve Ritchie designed it. Tony Rumuni did the art. Larry DeMar did the software. Was released in November of 1980, and it had a production run of 13,075 machines. And let's see. Oh, the digital versions. Yeah, this is an interesting thing. Black Knight was formerly available as a license table in any version of the Pinball Arcade until June 30th of 2018 due to WMS license expiration. This table is also included in the Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams Collection. Black Knight is a ROM emulated only in PC version, but in the rest of platforms, this table is scripted, like in Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams Collection, each platform. Unlicensed recreations of the game are available for Visual Pinball, which I actually use at times when I get a Pinball Jones and, I want to practice something. Which reminds me, I need to do that because there's something else I want to do. Anyway, Black Knight 2000 was also released as a licensed table on the Pinball Arcade, and that's also ROM emulated. Both Black Knight and Black Knight 2000 had to be taken down just before June 30th, 2018, because, once again, the WMS license expiration date. So, yeah, that is Black Knight and Black Knight 2000. With Black Knight 2000, it actually was in an episode of the X-Files that was a season 1, episode 8, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, because the description for Black Knight 2000 is really light on information, but that's okay. All right, my limited experiences with it, because they are limited, and there's a reason for it. These 2 pins really turned me off to pinball for quite some time, and I'm not going to mince words about it. These 2 machines were the toughest machines I ever played at the time because the level of punishment you would get for missing and even making shots was just brutal. A lot of center and side drains, and a lot of shots requiring pinpoint precision to make. I mean, I did not start playing pinball until I found Bride of Pinbot at a local video store. So I think Black Knight was not quite as bad. Black Knight 2000 was the one who really did it. So, I mean, I didn't play any pinball for 2 years because of that game, because it just discouraged me so much. I mean, I have memories of going to Milford Rec with a bunch of my gaming friends at the time, and I mean, I would play Black Knight because, I wanted to play some pinball, and that was like the pinball machine I wanted to play because none of the other ones interested me really. And I just have a memory of one of my gaming friends, he's watching me play, and he's doing the Black Knight voice while I'm playing, which is just irritating me. Shout out to Mark Gansas. He knows he did it. And it was like, I spent I think like maybe $2 on that game. And it's just like, I just wasn't getting any progress anywhere. Or what was worse, I would make progress in the game, but then it's like after that game ended, I would start another game thinking I could build on that, and it would just run me right off. It was just crazy like that. But yeah, so I think for like 2 years, I didn't play any pinball machines until I found Bride of Pinbot, and that quickly became my all-time favorite pinball machine, hands down. Okay, so yeah, that's Black Knight and Black Knight 2000. If you're a pinball player, played these games, owned them, have thoughts, positive or negative, hey, let me know. arcadeaddictbrian@gmail.com. Okay, and that is the end of episode 79. Let's see, looking forward to episode 80. I have an arcade review. What else do I have? I have, of course, Are You Experienced? And an On-the-Road segment. So, look forward to that. Hopefully, I can get that recorded, get that recorded in the new year, and we'll get back on a regular schedule with the podcast because, yeah, I know I've been a little lax as of late, but hey, to quote one of my favorite characters in movie history, it's not my fault. And those who know which character I'm talking about. But anyway, all right, until next time, you guys out there, stay safe, stay sane, good gaming, have fun wherever you can because life is short and it's only getting shorter with each passing day. And, I'll catch you guys for episode 80 coming up soon. Until then, au revoir.
You have been listening to the Confessions of an Arcade Addict podcast. All music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his music at incompetech.com. You can also contact the show by email at arcadeaddictbrian@gmail.com, or you can contact the show by voicemail at area code 734-623-0832. All links to social media are on Linktree. That is linktr.ee/arcadeaddictbrian. So until next time, you have been listening to the Confessions of an Arcade Addict podcast. See you then. This podcast has been brought to you by Gamer Nation Productions. By gamers, for gamers. Roll with us.